Hello, this is Lucas Lundy, just going to show you some of the procedures you'll perform in the bioreactor experiment. Every time you take a sample from the bioreactor, it's always important to check the laptop connected to the bioreactor. It monitors the temperature data as well as the pH probe data, which you need to record in your data table. Sampling of the bioreactor will always be performed using this plunger, which is connected to the sample port. When sampling from the bioreactor, make sure to remove 3 milliliters just to clear the line, and then take out an additional 6 milliliters, which will act as your sample. Make sure to reattach the plunger once your sample has been collected. Also make note of the bioreactor volume and the feed volume and write that down in your data table. One of the first steps in data collection is to take 1.5 milliliters of your sample and put it into a small vial to be refrigerated for GFP fluorescence data collection. The second step in data collection is collecting glucose concentration data using a blood glucose meter. To capture glucose data, simply turn on the glucose meter, insert one test strip into the bottom of it, and then place a small bit of sample onto a flat surface so that the test strip can be placed in the sample for data collection to begin. Keep the end of the test strip submerged, then record data. The third step of data collection is collecting absorbance data values of our sample. For this experiment, we will be recording absorbance at 600 nanometers wavelength. For this step, we'll be using a micropipette to take out a small amount of our sample to fill just over half of an absorbance container. This container will be going into a spectrophotometer, making sure to align the arrow on the spectrophotometer with the container. If need be, we can also dilute our sample somewhat and make note of the dilution factor in case our absorbance is above 0.6 for accurate reading. Once everything's in place, simply turn on the spectrophotometer and start doing a collection. The final step of data collection is collecting GFP fluorescence data of our sample from the bioreactor. Here you see us loading our samples into a Blackwell plate, making sure to keep the same dilution factor of our samples from our absorbance calculation. Once all the samples are loaded, we then put it into the machine and then collect our fluorescence data. With all data collection complete, you can then record all of your data in the class spreadsheet. Make sure to make your own sheet in the class spreadsheet so you can then put your data in, and make note of all the dates and times of samples collected. That should be all the major steps of the bioreactor experiment. Professor Kelly will also be on hand to help with any setup of the bioreactor. Thank you for listening.